organized by Academy of Islamic Civilization and my FSSH Mind Committee of FSSH UTM. I would like to express my appreciation to our honorable speaker, Professor Dr. Hadi Noor, Professor and Director of Institute Ibn Sina UTM. I'm sure that Professor Hadi is the most qualified person to talk about Industrial Revolution 4.0 and sustainable Islamic science and technology. Today's intellectual discourse program is the second intellectual discourse program for this year, organized by Academy of Islamic Civilization. This program is joined by students who take the Thinking of Science and Technology course at ATI UTM. This is to meet some component in the content of the course, especially related to Industrial Revolution 4.0 and the Islamic paradigm. Thanks again to all the committee members. It is hoped that this program can achieve its objectives and benefits all participants. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Nasr Hisham, for your speech, and honorable audience. Since the World Economic Forum held on 2016, which set Industry 4.0 on its agenda as global issue, this new buzzword has been associated with rapid technological breakthroughs that led to the transformation in all aspects of our socio-economic lives. In response to the fourth industrial revolution, Malaysia launched the National Policy on Industry 4.0 on the 21st of October 2018 to drive digital transformation of the manufacturing and related services sectors in the country. In this view, one of the key questions is how countries, especially Islamic ones, including Malaysia, can create the conditions for the fourth industrial revolution and associated emerging technologies to bring new opportunities and benefits to the people and enable a sustainable fourth industrial revolution through science and technology. So I have the honor to invite our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Hadi Noor, Director of Ibn Sina Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research, UTM, to inform our gathering on these issues. Professor Hadi Noor is also adjunct professor at University Negeri Malang, Indonesia. His research activities involve the integration of material science, heterogeneous catalysis, fuel cell science and engineering in order to develop and characterize new materials for use in emerging technologies. He also assumed different academic, administrative, and research positions, and he has been invited as keynote speaker in a number of forums and symposiums at the international, regional, and national level. Prof. Hadi also was awarded several awards, among them Publication Award Center of Excellence category from UTM, and also the Excellent Service Award 2017 from UTM, and the World Class Professor in 2019 from the Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education from Indonesia. And also Prof. Hadi has other achievements as well in entrepreneurship and collaboration, especially to bilateral cooperation between Indonesia and Malaysia in higher education. He has a number of published books and book chapters as well as journal articles. Please, dear audiences, welcome Professor Dr. Hadi Noor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kawatar. I would like to share my slide. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Thank you, Dr. Kawatar Abdallah, for a kind introduction. I would like to thank the UTM Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities who invited me to give a lecture about sustainable Islamic science and technology. This is a challenging topic for me since my background, said by Dr. Kawatar Abdullah, is in science, especially in the field of chemistry, and more specifically in the field of materials chemistry. So the topic given to me about capacity building in science and technology is, I think, is really important. This topic is very broad and comprehensive, so that I will look at it from various aspects. So now my position has changed from being a material chemist specialist to a generalist who talks about Islamic science in general. I am delighted because this topic is important and interesting. After all, as a Muslim, I see the importance of Islamic science as an excellent philosophy used to advance science and technology, especially for devoted Muslims. This is the outline of my lecture today, approximately 1 hour, yeah, which I divided into 5 parts. The first is about the changes that are being faced by the world today. Then the second is about the golden centuries of Arab nations from historical perspective. Then I will continue to the framework of Islamic science as a concept. Then the scientific research from an Islamic perspective. And the last is what we are doing at UTM, namely the Ibn Sina Institute initiative. My lecture this morning is only about connecting the dots based on the information and studies that previous experts have been carried out. It's nothing new, but it needs to be conveyed to wide audience. If we look at the definition of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the keyword is the digital technology. This digital technology is a combination of the physical world and the virtual world, which is called the cyber physical system. It will affect every element in business operation. We cannot avoid this, and we cannot say that we need to adapt continuously. We can say, yeah, we need to adapt continuously. There is no other choice. We have no choice. We have noticed since 2 years we have experienced the COVID-19 pandemic. We are forced to adapt the condition we are cannot socialize, so we do social distancing. I was also forced to learn to use technology to deliver lectures, including today. Yeah? We use WebEx. Yeah? And for 2 years, I've been forced to use online lecture facilities. I've also been forced to use YouTube and other digital platforms such as Google Meet, WebEx, Zoom, etc. This is inevitable. We have to adapt, yeah, to this situation. We see that the development of the world is very rapid and the world is constantly changing. This is a picture that shows the projected population of 10 billion by year 2100. Therefore, this population development is the basis for all world developments that we are experiencing at this time. If we associate this with education, the education must also change according to the time. Therefore, I will first explain technological development and scientific developments that affect education in the general. And we know that population and technology are the triggers of world change. If we look at the development of the world, we can divide it into several periods. It shows the population increased to 3 billion in 1960. At this time, the development of science technology was triggered by Industrial Revolution 1.0. It shows the population increased to 6 billion in 1999. And in this period, there is also the occurrence of the Industrial Revolution 3.0, where the development of science was triggered by the invention of the computers. Today, the world population will greatly develop to almost 8 billion. The development of science technology will be dominated by the development of the artificial intelligence technology. This development will cause a very rapid changes, not only from the aspect of science technology and economy, but also to the way of life, a human being on the earth. Now, we look at the first industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution was marked by a transition from hand production method to machine. through the use of steam power and water power. And the effect has consequence on textile manufacturing, iron industry, agriculture, mining, although it also had societal effect. Yeah, societal effect. It also had an effect at that time on the British industry. Now, if we look at the second industrial revolution, the second industrial revolution, also known as the technological revolution, resulted from installation of the extensive railroad and telegraph networks, which allow for faster transfer of people and also the idea, yeah, as well as the electricity, yeah. Increasing electrification allow for factory to develop the modern production line. And in the third industrial revolution, also known as the digital revolution, occurred in the late 20th century after the end of the two world wars, resulting from slowdown of the industrialization and technology advancement compared to the previous period. And the next significant development in the third industrial revolution is the communication technology, was a supercomputer. And the fourth industrial revolution, in essence, the fourth industrial revolution is a trend towards automation and data exchange in manufacturing technologies and process, which include what we call is the cyber physical system. Maybe you know the Internet of Things, cloud computing, cognitive computing, artificial intelligence. Now we can summarize that the key themes of the industry 4.0 is number one is the interconnection. Yeah, we interconnected each other. The ability of machine, devices, sensor, and people to connect and communicate with others via internet. And number two is the technical assistant. The technical facility or the system to assist humans, yeah, to assist us in decision making and problem solving, and the ability to help human with difficult or unsafe tasks. So it can be concluded that the world is always changing or evolving. This will cause changes in the form of companies, also business processes, business models, leadership, and also cause political changes. As we saw in the collapse of the Soviet Union, if you remember that in the 1980s with Russia's political opponents at the time, we also see the very rapid changes of science and society and also lifestyle, democracy, war, and also conflict, because the development of science and technology cause changes not only science and technology, but also the society and the political landscape. One, the changes that occur in the era of the 1990s until now is what is known as a disruptive innovation. What is a disruptive innovation? Disruptive innovation refers to the innovations that transform expensive or highly sophisticated products or services, previously accessible to high-end or more skilled segment of consumer, to those that are more affordable and accessible to broader population. This transformation disrupt the market by displacing long-standing established competitors. From the diagram on the right, we can see that the performance of disruptive technology is rapidly evolving towards the most demanding use. Therefore, it is clear that this technology directive can be very easily beat the existing conventional technology. Now, we already know that the world is changing very fast. At this time where there is a multiplication of disruption, and what they call is the double disruption. What is the double disruption? This is a combination between digital disruption and disruption caused by pandemic. We see at this time we need speed, yeah, to overcome the spread of the virus. So we apply social distancing. We also need a new technology that can help us to overcome this problem very fast. That's why we currently see this disruption has resulted in many traditional companies being defeated by companies that implement innovations. These called innovation disruptions, yeah, namely companies that utilize and create new technology that need more speed, less people, more efficient, and fulfill new customer expectation. Today's development are also causing a change in the future works. We need to realize that a lot of jobs will be replaced by automation, and also job will with a special skill, and more jobs created by 2030 than lost due to the automation. This is the industrial sector that is lucky or take benefit from the changes, namely the industry that is engaged in the manufacturing, yeah, and then construction, and then healthcare, and also retails. There are jobs are predicted to be very necessary in the future, namely work related to the health sector, then biotechnology, then work related to the data, such as a data scientist, financial analyst, as well as work related to cyber security. The fields of the psychology, and the student in working to stay study in the under faculty humanities, the field of the psychology is also predicted to be a job that is needed in the future, in addition to fields such as stock analysis and also logistics. We also need to look at the challenges that we will face in a short period of time, namely those caused by viruses, both viruses from biology, this is a biological viruses, and also virus from computers, computer virus. We also see with the technological developments, there will be a job crisis and also generation useless. This is due to they cannot anticipate the progress of science and technology. The challenges that we will face in the near future, including a shift economic power, will be centered in China, and also the financial crisis, and also what is called the industrial civilization. And now we also see the beginning, yeah, during this time, the beginning of the artificial intelligence technology. The result of the most likely development of technology is human mental health. Therefore, this need to be anticipated. We can see that the education based on religion, I repeat again, the education based on religion might be used to overcome mental health problem and also social issue. Social issue will definitely arise due to the interconnected world, yeah, in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, interconnected world. Then the social media revolution, the globalization, the occurrence of the liberal lifestyle, all of this needs to be anticipated. In the context of the social issue, it might see that the Islamic education can be expected to overcome all the problems that will be happening. This is our belief. This is my belief. Yeah. So the question is that saying a rapid change in the science and technology and also the social issue, we need to ask whether the Islamic science and technology can answer the challenges that are being faced, namely Industrial Revolution 4.2, is more specifically is the disruptive innovation. Okay. Okay, this is a very important slide. Yeah? This slide shows the development of the science and technology and also industrial revolution, yeah, 1.0 and 2.0. We see from the year 700 to around 1400 was the year when the glorious movement of the Arab and Islamic nations. But this is not keep going and decline because Europe was rising And we see the progress of science and technology in Europe was very, very fast. It started with the invention of the printing machine around 1400. And we see the development of science and technology also along with the growth of the wealth of the Europeans. The Ottoman Empire was the one of the mightiest and longest lasting dynasties in the world history. The Islamic Iran superpower ruled large areas of Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North America for more than 600. The chief leader, known as a Sultan, was given absolute religious and political authority over his people, while Western Europeans generally viewed them as a threat. Many historians regard the Ottoman Empire as a source of great regional stability and security, as well as the important achievement in the arts, science, religion, and also culture. And the Ottomans were known for the achievement in art, science, and medicine. And we know that the Istanbul and other major cities throughout the empire were recognized as an artist hub, especially during the reign of the Sulaiman, the Manisans. After the start of the World War I, the Ottoman Empire was already in decline. The Ottoman army entered the war and were defeated in 1918. Yeah. And most Ottoman territories were divided between Britain, France, Greece, and Russia. The Ottoman Empire officially ended in 1922 when the title of Ottoman Sultan was eliminated. Turkey was declared a republic in 1923 with Mustafa Kemal Atatürk as a president. And he implementing reforms that rapidly secularized and westernized the country. This marked the end of the golden era of the Arabs and Islamic at the time. One aspect to be considered is what is referred to as the class of civilization. This is one of the terms. The class of civilization is a thesis that people's cultural and religious identities will be primary source of the conflict in the post-Cold War world. Yeah. The American political scientist, Professor Samuel Huntington, argued that the future wars will be fought not between countries, but between cultures. Huntington writes, this is not to advocate the desirability of the conflict between civilization. It is to set forth descriptive hypotheses of what the future might be like. And in addition, the class of the civilization represent a development of history. Yeah. In the past, world history was mainly about the struggle between monarchs, nation, and ideology, such as that seen within the Western civilization. However, after the end of the Cold War, world politics moved into new phase in which non-Western civilizations are no longer exploited recipient of Western civilization, but have become additional important actors joining the West to shape and move world history. When we talk about Islamic science and technology, we need to understand. We need to understand the golden age of tradition from the Arabs, from the Islamic science and technology previously. We need to look at it from historical perspective. We can learn that Arab nations and Islam Muslim have advanced and risen again. This clarifies the importance of the understanding of Muslim scholars in variety of sciences, the humanities, physical sciences, metaphysics, etc., for the Islamic intellectual paradigm. The golden age of Islam has given birth to the thinkers whose services and influence of world civilization have been for centuries. Islamic civilization has become the center of world knowledge, play a role in shaping the development of science and human civilization. I found that a very nice cartoon. A source is adapted from the Kitab Komik Filsuf Muslim. This is by Ibot, yeah, the name of the author Ibot, yeah, and editor is Andia Primanda. So I adopt, yeah, this comic to this presentation. Historical background of early Islam was present as legend revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mecca on the Arabian Peninsula around 610 and 632 with a collection of God revelations, namely Al-Quran, as his holy books. The center of Islamic teaching is oneness of God, the Tawhid, and the obedience to his commands and prohibitions. After the death of the Prophet Muhammad, the leadership of the Muslim was continued by the Caliphate, known as the Khulafaur Rashidin, in succession as follows. Khalifah Abu Bakar, Khalifah Umar bin Khattab, Khalifah Uthman bin Affan, Khalifah Ali bin Abi Talib. After the assassination of the Khalifah Ali, a complicated political upheaval took place. Muawiyah bin Abu Sufyan later won the position of Khalifah during the Umayyad dynasty. And Muawiyah transferred the position of Khalifah to his son Yazid. Then leadership was always held by the Khalifah from the Muawiyah family, one of the leading Arab Quraysh family in the Umayyad dynasty. The Umayyad dynasty was strong in the military, but did not take much care about the development of science. The Umayyad dynasty expanded its territory to North Africa and even part of the Iberian Peninsula, now Spain, at the tip of the European continent. The Umayyad dynasty the capital was in Damascus, Syria, made Islamic civilization at large, multicultural civilization. But the Umayyad dynasty tended to place the status of Arabs higher than the non-Arab nation under its control. And this caused a lot of dissatisfaction and even rebellion. Of several rebellions, one of which succeeded in overthrowing the Umayyad dynasty was the Abbasiyah rebellion. The Abbasiyah rebellion was supported by many parties dissatisfied with the Umayyad dynasty, both Arab and non-Arab Muslim, and even non-Muslims. After defeating the Umayyad dynasty, the rebel established a new dynasty, namely the Abbasiyah dynasty. The first Abbasiyah Caliph was Abu Abbas as-Saffah. Abbasiyah Caliph paid attention to science, yeah, and encouraged its progress. At the time of the second Caliph al-Mansur, the capital of the government moved to Baghdad. The vast kingdom area and the multicultural population made it possible for Muslims to struggle with the great cultures from various countries, from various regions and religions, such as Persia, Syria, Byzantium, and others. The people of the Caliphate Abbasiyah were a multi-ethnic society consisting not only of Arab, but also Persian, Turks, Jews, Christian, and others. And the Abbasiyah dynasty treated Arabs better than the previous dynasty. Yeah. The Umayyad dynasty, even placing minorities in the various important government positions. Encounter with other major culture allow Muslims to find manuscripts from various ancient civilizations such as Greece, India, and Persia. Persia. Many manuscripts of ancient Greek origin in the ancient Syrian language were obtained from the Christians, while scientists in Islamic world were also sent to Byzantium to obtain the important manuscript. Yeah, began a massive translation project supported by the Abbasiyah Caliphate. At the time, under the Caliphate al-Ma'mun, a legendary library of the Baitul Hikmah was established. Baitul Hikmah means the house of wisdom, rumah kebijaksanaan, which was also the center of the knowledge. Ancient Greek philosophical texts have a special place in the development of science in the Islamic world. Many Muslim intellectuals who were influenced by Greek philosophy were also called philosophers, following the term for the student of philosophy in ancient Greeks. At that time, the Islamic world, especially the Abbasiyah Caliphate, became an intellectual center of the world education and science, which was important for Muslims. Muslim philosophers became pioneers in the progress of Islamic science and civilization at the time. Usually, the addition of the mastering philosophy, a philosopher can also become an expert in medicine, architecture, mathematics, politics, astronomy, and even traditional Islamic sciences such as theology and Islamic law. That period was also marked by the abundance of the important texts of various branches of science. Okay, one thing that need to be followed in the Islamic tradition. The tradition influence that cannot be ruled out from the Muslim philosopher are, of course, the traditional sources of Islam itself, such as the Quran and Hadith, of the Prophet. And the verses of the Quran, ayat-ayat the Quran and Hadith, which encourage people to use reason and study as a guide for Muslim to study. Yeah. Now we go to see the journey of one of the prominent Islamic scientists named Ibn Sina or Abu Ali Sina or Khor Sina, and often known in the West as the Avicenna. Ibn Sina was a Persian polymath who is regarded as one of the most significant physicians, astronomers, thinkers, and writers of the Islamic Golden Age, and the father of early modern medicine. He was a Muslim peripatetic philosopher influenced by Greek Aristotelian philosophy. We know that Ibn Sina is prolific writer of the 450 works he is believed to have written. 450, very, very amazing. 450. Around 240 have survived, including 150 on philosophy and 40 on medicine. And this is Ibn Sina's unique learning method. When Ibn Sina encountered the difficulties in studying, he would pray at night and pray in the mosque so that God would guide him before going to sleep. He studies and takes note as usual. At night, Ibn Sina claimed to have found solution to the problem in his dream. And Ibn Sina thanked God for solving his problem. Now we can see the learning method of the Ibn Sina. This is a combination of the spiritual power, spiritual strength, with a strong of the uh, excellence, analytical abilities. Now, what can we learn from this success story? The golden century of the Islamic science is number one, strong support for the advancement of science from the government. This is number one. The Umayyad dynasty was strong in military terms, but did not care about the development of science. During the Caliphate al-Ma'mun of the Abbasiyah dynasty, the development of science technology was facilitated by a conducive atmosphere and political will from the government to advance the science. Okay. Number two, meeting between different cultures positively impact the development of science and technology. We know that from the history, is many multiculturals under the Abbasiyah dynasty. So number three, the driving force is the integrations between science and technology and religion. Of course, the influence of the tradition that cannot be ruled out from Muslim philosophy come from the Islamic tradition itself, such as the Quran and Hadith of the Prophet. In the classical period of Islamic civilization, there was no separation in mastering of the religion and science. No separation. To be a religious man is to be a scientist at the same time, as Ibn Sina, Al-Farabi, and many Muslim scholars of the golden age of Islam prove. Based on this consideration, integration of science, technology, and religion can be done by taking the fundamental of Islamic philosophy as a future science paradigm. This is very important. Yeah. This is the concept. So we all know that in the golden age of Islam, in the 7th to 14th centuries, the development of science was based on the Quran, in contrast to modern science, which is based on the nature as the object of science. Please look at the science from the perspective of modern science. This is the diagram in the left. Yeah. The relationship between the paradigm is like a cloud on the top of the pyramid of the structure of science as shown in the diagram. And it is depicting science as a link between nature and humans. In metaphorical language, the object of science is the nature. The subject of science is human with all its value. And what is implied in the scientific paradigm is the head. The body of science is rational theoretical knowledge, and its legs are empirical experimental knowledge. His two hands are the two scientific methods, mathematical deductive logic and inductive statistics. That's how science thinks. Factual knowledge of nature is the basis, and theoretical knowledge is its structure, while the paradigm is the superstructure above outside of science. Yeah? This point of view is a point of view of materialism, which consider matter as the only reality. Science represents the objective nature in the human mind, which is only one aspect of the human brain that is part of the nature. Now, please look at the science according to Islamic science perspective. Of course, this view is different from the modern view of science or science in general. In human, there is a spirit as an immaterial substance. At the same time, nature is nothing but manifestation of God's creativity as a creation. That is why, unlike modern science, which regards material nature as the basis of reality, Islamic sciences sees God revelation as the basis of reality. That is why we have a science pyramid with a structure opposite to the structure of modern science, as shown in this diagram. From the diagram, we can see that the orientation of Islamic science is the opposite of modern science that is developing in the West, and more stratified in the structure of its knowledge. The scientific paradigm is explicitly stated and built on the truth of the revelation in the form of his work written in Al-Quran, which was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And from the diagram, we also see the Islamic science is not purely rational. It's not purely empirical. is not truly objective, but also religiously intuitive. Yeah. In Islam, we recognize the integrality of the individual human being from the body or jisim, ya. Bahasa Melayunya, mungkin bahasa Arabnya jisim, to ruh through the nafs, akal, and kalbu, ya. Following empirism, ya. And rationality and intuitiveness of Islamic science is the basis for scientific development. I repeat again, yeah. Rationality and intuitiveness of Islamic science is the basis for scientific development. And these characteristics complement each other with the objectivity and religiosity of science. Therefore, we can conclude that Islam recognizes the natural sciences and human sciences and religious sciences, yeah, sciences, whose philosophical ascent is a paradigm of the two sciences, modern science and Islamic science. This is about quality of thought. We see the perspective of Islamic science is different from the modern science. This is an illustration that the quality of our thinking is strongly influenced by consciousness, and also the unconscious nature, which is our intuition, our spiritual strength, our past experience, and our habit. Super consciousness will inspire consciousness, and subconsciousness will provide projection for consciousness and thought, thinking. Inspiration is a mentally stimulated process to do creative things. A good mental atmosphere is very necessary. Yeah. And this must be facilitated by conductive atmosphere and environment. Alhamdulillah, at UTM, we have this very conductive atmosphere for the study, for to do a research. However, inspiration and projection will not work properly if the mind and heart are quite chaotic, which is called the inhibitory mechanism. Mental disorder and health are factors. Mental disorder and health are factors that cause this barrier. To get quality of thought, we must have spiritual strength and good habit. This reflect by the learning method of Ibn Sina. We just see, we just see. Get rid of this or stay away from bad habit because they will directly or indirectly affect the quality of our thinking. A good education is an education that not only sharpens our logical reasoning, but also sharpens spiritual strength. This is a publication by G.J. Renzer. Yeah. He said that intuition is the highest form. Intuition is a higher form of the intelligence. I will summarize based on the Islamic perspective to conducting scientific research. The first principle of the conducting scientific research is niyat. We are a Muslim. We have have the good intention. Intention or niyat as a researcher. It needs to revert to the intention that has been shown by Muslim scientists one in the past, including regarding to the need of for a researcher or scientist to always humble himself because of Allah. Said Imam Al-Fudail, those who humble themselves because of God, it will be granted him wisdom. This is a spiritual force that will have an impact on our quality of thought, thinking quality. Number two is the preparation and training. Preparation and training with good intention are a necessary foundation for conducting research. People who carry out research must do two things. Number one, the person must be familiar with the basic principle and concept of the field they are engaged in, which is obtained from education and training. Number two, be grounded in the field they are engaged in. Number three, scientific integrity. Scientific integrity is very, very important. And researchers are expected to be a role model for truth and integrity. Researchers need to straighten out if something goes wrong and point out where it went wrong. Yeah? Researcher must dare to show the truth every time. Number four is unbiased and honest criticism. Honest intellectual criticism is a positively trait of a good researcher. This is an intellectual tradition that need to be continued and nurtured. Yeah. The spirit of the criticism and affiliation demands that trustworthy researcher and other practice. All the four these principle I extract from the science of hadith, ilmu hadith. This consists of several religious scholarly discipline used by Muslim scholars in the study and evaluation of the Islamic hadith. The record of the words, action, and the silent approval of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, one question: how to integrate science and technology and religion? We can see from the aspect of implementation and methodology, from the conceptual to institutional, operational, and architectural implication. Yeah. The methodologies of conceptual implementation are, yeah, education is part of the formation of a kafah Muslim human being. Research is a part of improvement quality monotheism as a caliph of Allah on the earth. Community service is part of worship, which manifests the human gratitude process as a man of God. From the institutional implementation, yeah, the methodology, all the faculties and natural sciences, humanities, and religious science are included in the structure of the university. If you look at the operational, this is the methodology, some of the example. The educational curriculum of all faculties must include fundamental concept of the sciences, of kalam, fiqh, Sufism, and wisdom as the compulsory lessons at the first year student. Syllabus and textbooks of faculty must include Al-Quran verses that follow scientific disciplines. The communal prayer ceremony. Yeah. The teaching schedule must not conflict with the obligatory Islamic worship rituals. The research program must not conflict with the fundamental value of Aqidah and Sharia. Community service program are not allowed contrary to the goals and method of community service stick to this creator. From architectural implementation, every campus must have a mosque, a social, cultural, and religious life. Alhamdulillah, at UTM, we have the very, very good, very nice mosque. Each department must have a prayer room. The library must include all the science, library, nature, humanity, and religion. This is a way how we integrate science, technology, and religion. Now, I now introduce our institute, Ibnu Sina Institute for Scientific Industrial Research at UTM. This is our photo in front of the Ibnu Sina Institute building. At the institute, we have Professor Farah Wahida, Dr. Aminuddin, in the field of Islamic studies, then Prof. Azlan and Dr. Afnizan Faiza from Computer Sciences, then Dr. Nick Nizam from the Department of Biology, Dr. Siong Heng, yeah, from Chemistry, Dr. Abbas and Prof. Noor Asikim from the Chemical Engineering Department, Dr. Hazri, yeah, Dr. Raja from the Physics Department, as well as Dr. Arifa and Dr. Zaitul from Mathematics. Yeah, from Mathematics. At Ibnu Sina Institute, we come from various scientific and technological background. Our team is the translation of the spirit of the Ibn Sina, who master various fields from science, yeah, medical science to the philosophy. At our institute, expanding the boundaries of knowledge through the genuinely multidisciplinary endeavor across the mathematical, physical, and social sciences to technological and also the humanities is a noble task to contribute to society on a national and global scale. And there are 6 research centers under Ibn Sina Institute. CS Nano, Center for Sustainable Nanomaterial, Laser Center, UTM Siam, UTM Center for Industrial and Applied Mathematics, CLEAR, Center of Lipid Engineering Applied Research, UTM BDC, UTM Big Data Center, and CFIRST, Center for FIC Research in Science and Technology. It can be seen that the Ibn Sina covered. Our institute covered the field from the data to wisdom. And this is my belief that, this is my goal that, yeah, our research must be not stop only to the data. It must not stop only to information. Must not stop only to the knowledge, but to some extent go to insightful, go to insight. The capacity to gain an accurate and deep understanding of someone or something. And last is to achieve wisdom. The quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. This is the goal of the higher education. It's not stopped from the knowledge. We need to go beyond that. We need to go beyond KPI. Yeah, number of publication is okay, but we need to go insightful. We need to go to wisdom. This is the message from the Islamic Science and Technology Professor. Okay, this is the last slide of my presentation. This slide shows the relationship between the academic experience or our age, yeah, and wisdom. If we look at the brown dotted line, we see ego and logic take precedence over empathy and logic, as in the blue dotted line. Looking at the dotted brown line, academic experience and research will only produce a culture of desire, what we call is a desire culture, and also relies solely on intelligence. This will only generate negative emotion, pride, jealousy, and so on. We need to direct ourselves to follow the blue dotted line so that we become wise human beings, where we will prioritize, yeah, prioritize empathy and logic. That will promote what we call is a sharing culture or culture of sharing through the heart and sensitivity. And this will generate positive emotions, compassion, and others. All this can be found in the teaching of Islam. We are taught to be sincere human beings. We are taught to have empathy. We have taught give the charity, and so on, to become wise human beings. This is the last message I convey about the Islamic science. And I will quote what Dr. Edward de Bono said. Yeah, he said, "You can analyze the past, but you need to design the future for the Islamic science and technology." Lastly, I would like to thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Hadi Noor, for this informative speech and also for all the analysis you provided and also for giving us a roadmap towards integrating science, Islamic science and technology and religion. Thank you so much. And I would like now to open the platform for our audiences if you have any question for Professor Hadi, please provide your question. You may send also your question in the chat box.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Hadi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm Nasiba. I have one question. Maybe you can give suggestion or advice with the development of IR 4.0. So the threat is in terms of digital. So we heard so many conspiracy theories or what we call as a pseudoscience. So how can we avoid ourselves from the influence of those argument with the conspiracy theories and the pseudoscience arguments? That's my question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Nasibah. In the science, the most important thing is we need to do unbiased view on something. We need to do a good research practice. Currently, I'm teach research methodology. So the most important thing that we need to understand how we think. That is to avoid the pseudoscience. Because as a human, like the Professor Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, in our system thinking, there are two systems. Number one, system one, this is very fast. Number two is the analytical thinking. So in order to distinguish, in order to unbiased, to see something, to know which one is true, we know whether it is not correct, we need to have the ability to use the system two. This is the analytical thinking. So in my class, in my research methodology class, I convey this. I teach my student to see something which use the system two. As an expert, maybe you can have, for example, that who is the expert? The expert is, for example, that I'm expert in the thermodynamics. Someone asked me about thermodynamics. My system one very fast to answer the question, but maybe it's not good. It's not how to say it's wrong, because we need to apply to the system too. Yeah. Analytical thinking. So I think that at UTM and any university, we need to apply the cognitive science properly in research. So I think that in the two week, Professor Fatin will talk about the cognitive science to do research. So the understanding of the science from the perspective of the cognitive science is very, very important. That is my question, my answer, Dr. Nasiba.
Thank you so much, Professor Hadi.
Thank you.
Is there any more question? Please proceed. If you have any question, you can unmute your mic and give your question to Professor Hadi. And meanwhile, I have one also question, considering the ethical aspects and reshaping the thinking, especially in this contemporary life where there is what we can call it a divide between the sacred and worldly life. So there is still, you provided some analysis and maybe a plan or a roadmap for integration of science and technology and religion together. However, I can say that yet there is a confusion and sometimes some doubt concerning the possibility of integrating science and technology and religion, not only for the young generation, also among some scholars or some of the elites in our societies, Islamic societies. Okay, so especially at the individual level, as perceived divide between belonging to this modern world and being a religious Muslim. So, what does it take to reshape this contemporary view, especially among Muslim young generation?
Yeah, I think this is very good questions. Yeah, in the application of the Islamic science, quite difficult. Yeah. But as I said previously in the first slide, we need to see from we as the devoted Muslim. We start with the belief. That is the most important thing. So that the structure of the modern science, yeah, based on our, compared to the Islamic science I just referred to, is different, opposite. Why? Because we start with the belief.
Yes.
Our foundation, the structure of the Islamic point of view, is the apocalypse. Apocalypse. That is the Quran, our belief. So it's become, we use our intuitive, we use our qalb. Yeah, yeah. Intuition is very, very important. Ilham is very important. So the next step, go to the theoretical science. Next step, you go to the factual science, empirical. So the top is the reality. This is different compared to the structure of modern science. So the first step, if I teach my student, so the first step is that we need to have the ethics and intention as a student or researcher. As a Muslim, yeah, I need to refer to the adab. Adab is very, very important. That has been shown by Muslim scientists in the past. Yeah, including regarding the need for researcher or scientist. Yeah, to be, what I said, that to be humble himself because of Allah. That is the principle as a Muslim. So I just mentioned about the Imam Al-Fudail. Those who humble themselves because of God, it will be granted him wisdom or wisdom rather than God. This is spiritual force and will have an impact in the quality of thought. And I see that at UTM, we have our things in terms of the implementation of the integration science and technology from architectural. So you see that the concept of our logo of UTM, the center is how to say, mosque, the architectural. You can see the Jalan Hikmah, Jalan. This is very, 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 very hard to say. We can relate that. Because we need to start different, yeah, because we are a Muslim, devoted Muslim. That is my question, Dr. Kwanta. My answer, Dr. Kwanta.
Thank you so much. Do you have any other further question?
Actually, there's one question from Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, Assalamualaikum,
Yes,
Prof.
please.
Hadi. IR 4.0, is it profit driven or maintaining the ecosystem? Can you hear?
Yeah. What the questions? Profit.
IR 4.0, is it profit driven or maintaining the ecosystem?
What does it mean? Yeah, number one is, yeah, it's true. It's profit driven. You can see that now is the company use the 4.0. This is artificial intelligence, Lazada, with Facebook, and so on. Yeah, this is profit driven. Profit driven. So as I just mentioned, that we need to adapt, yeah, to this kind of the environment. Is this profit driven?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Hadi. Dr. Mansouri, do you have any question, please?
Yes. Thank you, Professor Hadi, for your very informative talk. The debate between science and religion has been an ongoing discussion. So some may say that religion and science are fundamentally incompatible. Well, this disagreement probably comes from their different viewpoints. Science is based observation and reasoning from observation that you mentioned. But religion assumes that human beings can access a deeper level of information through belief. That is, from majorities of scientists' viewpoint, belief is not available by either observation or reason. So this is, anyway, we are living in the world that are not Muslim or they don't have specifically the same as our viewpoint. So my question is that, are religious beliefs conductive or obstacles to science and scientific inquiry? And how do you see contemporary interactions between these fields, considering rapid development of science and technology?
You mean the other religion?
Usually, scientists, I mean, from a Western point of view, they, and specifically from the Western society, and the segregation between science and religion. So this environment of, I mean, the scientific observation or studying that they grown up, they believe that they don't need, to refer to religion in order to understand or to study in science. But we are living in that world that politics play a major role. If I give an example, for example, that this semester I was quite surprised because when we asked one of the questions that was about the Baitul Hikmah, or the House of Wisdom, and his response was quite interesting because he said that the House of Wisdom is only a myth. While there is no historical evidence for that. So this is from education background in China, for example, or we have many more examples from other countries. So how do you see these contemporary interactions between these fields, I mean, between science and religion, considering rapid development of science and technology?
A very difficult question to be answered, but I read one of the report published in the Nature. I think that two reports are published in Nature about the top scientists in the US that believe in God. And there is a very interesting result. And I can remember that almost 80 or 90% of the top scientists in the US not believe in God. But there are 2 or 3 scientists, top scientists, still believe in God. So the question is not 80% or 90% not believe in God. What still have the 2 or 3 person have to believe in God? We need to see from this point of view. It's not see from the majority, no, because we start, as Dr. Quater asked to me, that we need to start because we have our belief. It's number one. Number two, please look at our history. So we already know that the Arab nations, we know that the Islamic science and technology is, how to say, rise in the 7th and the 14th centuries. What we can learn from the success story? Our thinking about that, because we start with belief. So UTM, I think that UTM will give us as a platform for this. You know that my presentation today is based on the spirit that the UTM, what they established in 1975, the philosophy, they said that the divine law of Allah is the foundation for science and technology. UTM strive with a total and unified effort to attain excellence in science and technology for universal peace and prosperity in accordance with His will. So this is our belief. So for me, that we need to stick on our belief. So me as a director of Ibn Sina Institute, we try to our best to how to say, convey this mission when our implementation is not only conceptual but in practical. Alhamdulillah, we see that our institute become one of the best institute at UTM now. So this is my belief. So as a devoted Muslim, we need to strive on it this way. Okay, Dr. Mansurah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hadi. I have another more question concerning the methodology. As you teach research methodology, I also teach research methodology, but of course, for Islamic sciences, I always cautions my students to take care that as Muslim researcher, you have to take care that because there are some methodologies, as we all know, and some also theories that explain human behavior and attitude, especially in social sciences and humanities, which has underlying philosophies that reject religion. Most of them are based on that. In fact, contemporary social sciences are based on the idea of rejecting religion. Okay, so this is one of the area where also conflict arise, and we need to find like a trade-off or compromise. How can we just develop and progress our sciences and research based on methodologies that reject religion and the idea of God, while we believe that there is one God, which this belief derives our intention or our or fuel our work towards progressing science and development?
Yeah, I think that the answer is that we need to promote the structure of science from the Islamic point of view.
Yeah.
That is only the way, because as I just mentioned that the structure of the science from Islamic point of view is a difference. Yeah, it's a difference. If we look at the perspective from the modern science, yes, yes, this is because why? Because the object of science is nature.
Yes.
That is the basis. We cannot say that we cannot debate on this one, because I believe that we need to choose, because in our life we have to choose.
Yes, sure.
So that for me that I propose that the one way to make the science a progress, yeah, we can use the structure of science from Islamic point of view. That is has been used previously, and Islamic science and technology long time ago, and this tremendous how to say results. And Ibn Sina, Al-Farabi, and so on. This is a very, very famous scientist at the time. Yeah, it's a dark age of the Europes. Islam is become glorious. So that my answer is that we need to choose. We need to choose which concept we want to use. So this is my how to say suggestion that if you want to use in the research methodology, please see from the other structure. That is a structure of science from Islamic point of view. Okay, I think that is my answer.
Thank you so much, Professor Hadi Noor. Is there any more question? I think we don't have more questions. And with that, I extend my sincere thanks again to Professor Dr. Hadi Noor for this informative talk and analysis about the integration of Islamic science and technology and religion together. Thank you so much. And also, I'd like to thank all our audiences, professors, associate professors, and other lecturers, and also the organizing committee on top of them, the director of this program, Dr. Nasiba Ramli. Thank you all. And we meet again in another talk. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Salam. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can we have a short photography session?
Yeah,
yeah.
Sure.
This is very important.
Okay, so please don't leave until we take this photo. Okay, so please can you, open your camera, video? Yes.
Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, organizer.